Howdy, and welcome to the Theo Wave podcast. This one is about the election in Bangladesh of 2024. This recording took place the day before the January 7th election. And I, again, did not realize that I was muted, but now I'm kind of liking it as we can keep the focus on the guest. Enjoy.
Hi, I am KP. My legal name is Musa Ibn Mannan because I'm an engineer doing my PhD at University of Texas at Dallas. At the same time, I'm a writer in Bangladesh. I write in Bengali, and I just came back home for a month during the election time. So my friend talked about this conversation we're gonna have. So yeah, back to you.
So, for any viewers that may not be familiar with Bangladesh, tell us about the country and its importance geopolitically.
So the thing is, Bangladesh is really a small country, but it's surrounded by India from three sides. And the other side, like a really little space at the right bottom corner, is Burma. So apparently, India and Burma both are really concerned about our political influences because about the election even like it has two different parts which you will not find on the wiki or Google. Mostly it has an internal part like two different parties fighting against each other to like get the most vote or maybe rig the election, whatever that is. But the another interesting part is the external pressure. Like India is pressuring the whole government and the whole system to get their like favored party to be the like parliament members, and at the same time China is trying to do the opposite thing. China and Russia could have their conflicts and they want something from this election. At the same time, I would say maybe 3 4 months back there were a little or maybe an extreme pressure from the USA as well. So they were talking about we need fair election, and if anybody is hindering the system from it, then they're going to put sanctions on them. And they put sanctions on some people as well. They just didn't publish the report. And for a small country like Bangladesh, when the US ambassador is talking loudly and publicly about putting sanction on a country based on the election aftermath or the preparation, then you know that something is going on. Like it's not about Bangladesh, it's about the big countries trying to get the most out of it. So because of the geographical location, back to your original question, they were interested in this. Under the land, Bangladesh does not have a lot of natural resources. But the geographical location is important because if you are trying to make India, I don't know, unrest or uncomfortable, you need this land. And if you want to put a pressure on China, because India is a big country, if USA is trying to put some pressure on China, then maybe you are going to need this land and this geographical location. That's why this is important, and this election is important, not because for the internal part.
So, from what I can gather, it seems like there's been a political party that's been in power for some years now, and their victory looks like a foregone conclusion. Is that what's going on?
Yeah, I mean, yes, I think you got the gist of it. Even a few hours back, I was texting with my Indian friend, Riju, and he was like, how's it looking? And only answer I could give to him, like, we all know what will be the outcome of tomorrow. Not because we know that, because one of the parties have the like popularity over the other, but we know that they will use everything in their power to make the election results at their side, and they will even make it look like it's legit in front of the like foreigner observers. Like we all, this is the culture we have. Like we always invite people from other countries. Like even I was looking at the newspaper this morning, and we invited 117 foreign officials to come in this country just to observe the polling centers and everything, just to make sure that the election is fair. And when you have the entire like system, like the police and even the election committee and election commission people, then you can make it look like it's fair, and at the same time it will not be fair. So from what I heard from the previous election in 2018, it was like you will go there to the polling centers and you can actually cast your vote to whatever whoever you like for the first 2 or 3 hours, and that will be the time when the outsiders, like the foreign officials, will be invited, and they will be like, oh, this is really cool. Everybody's like, this is a peaceful situation, and fair and free election is going on. But the fun part is, because of my writer career, people started texting me things from the night before, and there are officers who would just sit in the polling centers to make sure that the election is going on fair and free. They texted me, sent me pictures which they took with like discretion, and it showed that people are actually was there inside the polling center from the night before, and casting votes like on the ballots. Maybe 60% of them were filled before the day of the election. And then whenever, yep, they did that. And then whenever you're looking at it at the morning, you'll find like, yeah, everything's good, but it's not, because even if in that 3 hours people are casting votes against the ruling party, it will not cross the 60% mark. So they are already lost. So this is what happened in the last election. This time, I don't know what's going to happen, because US had some pressure on Bangladesh. But like you said, one thing is there is no opposition. Why? Because this party is like in power for the past 15 years or so. So we have a prime minister system. So just to give you a brief how the election works, it's like we have a parliament of 300 seats, and you can participate in the election. And what will happen is, after the election is done, we are going to count the votes, and the party who got the majority of the votes, their leader will be the prime minister. So different parties have different names for their leaders. Some would say their leader is their chairperson. Some would say it's their president of the party. But whoever that is, the majority party's leader will be the prime minister. So we have two big parties in Bangladesh. One is Bangladesh Awami League, which is a really historical party who even bought the independence of Bangladesh back in 1971. They bought independence from Pakistan. Like back in 1971, we were Pakistan and we were the East Pakistan. So what happened, like they really had a really respectful stand for a long time. But even in 2007, we lost democracy at all, because the military came in, they had an interim government, and then they did not let go of power. Then the both of the parties, like the Bangladesh Awami League and their opposition is Bangladesh Nationalist Party, in short BNP. So both of them lost any chance to get to power because of the military intervention. And they said like it will be a 3 month long period. We are gonna just arrange another fair election and we will leave. But they did not leave for the next 2 years. And I think it was 2008, at the end of 2008, most probably, we had the fair election. By kicking them off, a lot of people were on the streets who were not even associated with any of the parties, like the actual people, like neutral people. And they kind of forced back democracy in Bangladesh. And at that time, people voted Bangladesh Awami League because they do have a great history, and their opposition was in power from 2001 to 2006. And in their period, there was Islamic extremism, and I think people did not like it. So they voted the other party, and Bangladesh Awami League was in power. And I would say that was a fair election at the time. But then what happened? The next election was in 2014, and at that time, the opposition, Bangladesh Nationalist Party, they were doing their thing on the street. In any democratic country, you would have the right to show support for your party, talk like yeah, any kind of campaign. But in this part of the world, the campaigns are not always peaceful. So what really happened in 2013 in December, a lot of cocktails were thrown to local buses, like
I assume you
bus.
mean Molotov cocktails
Yeah,
and not martinis.
yeah, not like martinis. I would prefer the other though. But so what really happened at the time is a lot of people were burnt alive because of those things. Like they are not campaigns. I would say they are like terrorist activities led by the opposition party, Bangladesh Nationalist Party, and they did that. And Bangladesh Awami League, the party who is still in power right now, they were talking about conversations. They're talking about like a peaceful. But the thing is, the other party did not agree to come to the election in 2014. They walked over, and what really happened is when you are going in as the only big party, when your country has only two major parties, then you're going to win. That was like by default, right? I mean, they didn't even have to rig the election or anything. That was the stupidity of the opposition. They did not even participate in the national election. So in 2014, Bangladesh Awami League got the majority as well, and they were elected for the second time after that army intervention period. So now they have 10 years long of like they had the power for 10 years, and in 2018 election they used their power to rig the vote. They wanted to make sure, because when you're in power for 10 years, you have a lot of control over a lot of people and departments, which you need to rig an election like this. Because in this part of the world, I don't think it should be allowed to be the like prime minister for 10 years for two periods. I mean, it just goes to the wrong direction. From my experience, I think it should be like 5 years and then switch. But yeah, yeah, of course. And that was the history in short, like how this party is in power for the past 15 years. And now we're facing another election, and people are doubtful that anything fair is going to happen tomorrow. I don't know what's going to happen. Yeah, it's the 5 year term. Eventually, it will have a toll, though.
So Mark Twain said that politicians and diapers should be changed frequently and for the same reason. The implication being that when a political party or an individual in power is there for too long, they start to play dirty games and start to test everyone's faith in the system itself.
No, I think there's some truth in this. And this is one of the reasons I'm not really going against this election. Like, I'm not just writing a lot of things about it. I'm not raising my voice about it, because I know if right now, I mean, tomorrow, if something happens, like a miracle happens and another party comes into the power, it will be an even more disaster. So the situation of Bangladesh is like when you're changing the diapers, I mean, you're changing government like diapers, then what's really happening is the next party will try to grab whatever they can, and whatever they will find some revenue out of in 5 years. They will not take a project that will last for 7 years, because they don't have anything in this. Because they know for a fact they will not be in power when that project will be done. So they will not get the fruits of it. So this is why Bangladesh had little or less long-term projects going on before this government. So you're talking about infrastructures. They take time sometimes. So there are some really good developments, regards of infrastructure, or some kind of systems are put, like the disaster controls or some other things, which really needs long-term planning. which people did not do before because they knew that they don't have a long term, like they don't have the time for this. Yeah. So this is a reason, like right now, I think, yes, we need a free and fair election, but at the same time, we and our people needs to be prepared for that kind of a change. It should not be only the opposition party who are talking loud about this, but the people are not joining them because they don't even trust them. They don't trust their government and they don't trust the opposition party. So they're feeling like helpless.
So, from what I gather, it seems that in developing countries during times of economic growth and accelerated infrastructure development, that it seems to be accompanied by a government that likes to limit freedom of expression and freedom of the press and likes to control the judiciary. Is that what's happening in Bangladesh right now as well?
Yeah, I would say so. The thing is, when you can look into like both part of the coin, then you know that why this is happening and what's the outcome of it. It's like you're paying a price. It's like the people of Bangladesh is paying a price. The price is their maybe freedom of expression at some extent, maybe losing their right of vote, and at the same time they're getting a lot of things. But the thing is, we still have to have these conversations because maybe for now this kind of served Bangladesh at some like departments, but at the same time, if you like let them continue doing this, then you're gonna get another North Korea someday, right? So then it will be the culture. Like they will say, like for the past 100 years, we've been doing this. So it will be the entire, like this whole culture will be just grab the power and stay there, arrange fake elections. It cannot go on forever. Even though it served Bangladesh, what do you think? Like if I don't know, maybe not now, but if there's a situation where the American people are facing something like this, like they will have to vote for these people or maybe that people, but both are equally evil, then what do they say? Like, yeah, we don't believe in democracy anymore. They can't say that. They will still have to fight for democracy. So what will be your perspective if you see like these kind of things? Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like sometimes I give them an example. Like you remember that San Marcos is a small town bar, Jelix. Like some people were talking about politics at one night, and they were talking about like why are you not criticizing this government even more? Even though I did, and I faced a lot of, I don't know, uh, they had their own kind of pressures for the, yeah, for the writers and the like speakers who are trying to say something. But I was talking about like the situation. I was metaphorizing it with the situation of North Korea and Afghanistan. I was like, yes, yeah, maybe I can speak even more loudly against North Korea, but I would prefer to have a North Korea in my homeland than having an Afghanistan here. It's like Taliban or Kim Jong Un. Then I'll be like, okay, Kim Jong Un for now. Well, one battle at a time, right? You can win all the battles.
Every voter is a prisoner of limited choices, and they all have to look at their options and alternatives. And so, what hope is there for reform if a political party becomes further entrenched in power and ingrained in the political system for a long period of time?
Yeah, something like that. And if you prefer this battle, then maybe we can fix it later. 5 years from now, or maybe 10 years from now, maybe we can fix this. If this party goes, and then you're going to get some super crazy Islamic terrorists. And fixing that is even more difficult, right? Maybe it will take 100 years. Look at Iran, like Iran situation, you know that, right? So fixing those kind of situations would be difficult. So I don't know what to do, but I know that we still have to fight for democracy. At the same time, I don't know if I should stand against this system like that hard right now. So it's a dilemma for me as well.
So, as a writer, at least the way I assume you like to write, freedom of expression is paramount in being able to practice your craft.
Yeah.
And so, how do you say what you want without putting yourself in too much danger?
And maybe even putting yourself in danger with putting yourself in danger. But one thing I noticed in in Bangladesh, one thing I noticed, I think that could be a strategy of the government. Like I said a lot of things like about elections, about this government not being a legitimate government because they didn't have a legitimate election in 2018. And talking like this is dangerous for some people and even for me. What I saw, like some people were in jail because they wrote something, even they were not even that much of a critic like me. They just said maybe the last election was not fair, something like that, really toned down and vaguely pointed at that election, and they are in jail. I said something even more fiercely. I'm not in jail. No one even came to me to arrest me, even though I had the fear. Like, yeah, I saw some people going to jail, but even though, like, no, I still talked about those things, but they did not attack me. But they put some other people in jail. So I think that's the strategy. Like, look at these kind of governments. You will try to put some people under punishment to teach the others. Like, if you're talking about this, it could be your fate as well. But at the same time, I think they don't want to like steer this thing like that much. Like if they're like putting some famous or popular writers or actors or journalists in jail, then it will be a big, like I don't know, there could be a chance of movements. Like the opposition will take advantage of that. So what they're going to do is they're going to put some harmless people in jail, and then every journalist in the country, every writer in the country will think about it. They will self censor themselves. So I have a strategy against this as well. I talk about this like we will not self censor us. If they arrest us, let them do that first. Then I'm going to believe that I'm in danger. I'm not going to look at the newspaper and just say like, oh yeah, that 29-year-old writer is in jail, who is like a really low profile guy, maybe didn't publish that much, just started or something like that. And they put him in jail. We are talking against it. We are protesting and nothing is happening to us. That means they're not touching us deliberately. And we should take advantage of that. So it's like you're talking about like we have to fight against like fight for our freedom of expression. We are, and at the same time we are feeling like we have our freedom of expression, but some other people don't have it. It could be me tomorrow, but this is how they play it.
So, what are you seeing around you in Bangladesh? How's the campaign going? What's the reality on the
So
ground?
for the past 2 weeks, I saw campaigns only for the ruling party. Like I saw people going to the street, like they're campaigning for the ruling party. I would like to see the other parties campaign more, but I don't see them, and I don't know the reason. There could be a chance, like maybe they're afraid to go out, or maybe from the newspaper, like newspapers I saw, like they talk about arresting their leaders for the past 5 7 years. So maybe they don't have enough leaders to run a campaign. Maybe the leaders they have now, or the maybe nominated people they have, that their opposition party have, maybe they're not that good. Maybe they're not up to this kind of big election. So whatever the reason is, I did not see any crowd speaking about the Bangladesh Nationalist Party, like the BNP, the opposition we have. So I don't know the reason, but I didn't see them. That's what I'm saying.
I read that similar to how things are done in Russia, that the ruling party in some ways propped up the opposition to provide the illusion of choice, to give the international community some relief that a free, fair,
Yeah,
and open election is actually taking place.
democracy
Is there some truth in
or
that?
yeah. I mean, in 2014 that happened when the big party that their only opposition walked away. They let the third biggest party, which is like not that big, not like these people. So I think that party, their name is Jatiyo Party. I don't know what's the English version, but it was a small team, like a small party. It's not like the opposition for a party like this, the ruling party we have right now, Bangladesh Awami League. But they put them in the center, like, yeah, they are our opposition, and of course they lost. So everybody from the outside world, they'll be like, yeah, it's not their fault that their opposition didn't come to the election, right? So it was a fair and free election, which is not, how this works. So even this time, if their opposition party cannot put a good fight, maybe because of their leaders are in jail, maybe because of they were tortured and kicked away from the streets. But then there will be another party. Of course, if you're counting the numbers, if there's 3 or 4 or 5 parties competing in an election, you're going to find some numbers as the number 2 team, right? So the number 2 team will be their opposition, which is not like that's just an eyewash. Like you said, like, yeah, this could happen. Let's see what happens tomorrow.
So, because this is not just an election of the head of state, it is an election of representatives. How do you think that power dynamic will play out in tomorrow's election?
So the thing is, I talked about how the election works, right? So 300 parliament seats, and this is how it works. Like the whole country is divided into 300 regions. So each member of the parliament will be responsible for their own location, like that region of the country. So it is really important to have someone inside the parliament, because you need electricity, gas, infrastructure development, or even educational development in your area. You will need a good member of the parliament so they can like get the budget out of the national budget for their own area. So the problem is, even if we are winning the election tomorrow, just giving you an example, the place I'm sitting in right now, if our like this area's party, like they will have 2 parties and one will win, right? So if the ruling party wins from this area, I mean their representative wins tomorrow, then he will go to the parliament as a member of the parliament, and they will count the number of the winning parliament members. If they have like 157 from party A, then party A is going to form the government, and their leader will be the prime minister. This is how it works. But the fun part is, if the ruling party loses in this area and the opposition wins, then he will still be the member of the parliament, and he will still go to the parliament, and he will not get any budget for this area, because the majority will rule him out. He will not get the fair shot.
It sounds like for the average voter, there's a strong incentive to not vote for necessarily just who you believe in,
Yeah.
but for whatever party is in power, so that your region will get money from the government.
Yeah, I mean, there's an example I saw firsthand in a division called Rajshahi. So there's a city called Rajshahi. That was also the city where my undergrad university was. So I was there for 4 or 5 years, and they elected the mayor. That was a free and fair election. They elected the mayor who was not part of the ruling party. So he was I don't know, a representative of BNP maybe, or maybe some other party. But the thing is, he was not from the ruling party, and he was elected mayor. And for the next 5 years, Rajshahi had no developments. Roads are breaking down. Nobody is fixing them because the mayor had, I don't know, maybe 50, 60 cases going on. Abduction, killing, like extortion, everything. Like, because, the ruling party put those cases against him. Like, yeah, he's a terrorist. So what happened, the next time the vote happened, the people of Rajshahi voted for the ruling party's nominated representative, because they're like, okay, we need to fix our roads. Take your vote.
Wow. So everyone just has to pick their poison.
Yeah. That does happen. But at least I would say that is better than like rigging the election altogether. If they're forcing the people to vote for their party, I mean, that's also bad, but not as bad as rigging the entire election. Yeah, it's just like a worse and the worst. Yeah.
So there has to be some parts of the country where the opposition party is more popular. What is it like in those parts?
There are some small pockets of like this party has more popularity, and some small pockets that party has more like popularity. But I don't think we can divide the country in two parts. Like a straight line cannot divide it. Like the north people are voting for this guy, and the south people. This is not like this. So mostly the founding fathers of the parties are from a specific area, right? Like the founding father of Bangladesh Army League, he was from a place called Gopalganj. So that place and the surrounding areas, they're heavily supporting Bangladesh Army League, the party ruling today's Bangladesh now. And the guy who founded Bangladesh Nationalist Party, he was from a place called Bogra. So that part of the country is heavily supporting BNP, the opposition right now. But the rest of the country, they have different kind of views, like mixed. Some places may be a little heavier to Bangladesh Army League. Some are a little heavier to the other. And there are two divisions who are really, I think they are heavily supporting the Islamist people. So they're in the play, but I don't know why Bangladeshis don't really like to vote for the religious parties. The last free and fair election, I think they got only 5% of the total vote. So we're not worried about that right now. But when these kind of things are going, like the election is dividing the biggest parties in the country, then you don't know. Maybe the third party will come in. So maybe the fanatics will come in and win the election someday. So we can't say anything for sure.
How does the opposition get their support? What segments of society tend to vote for them and why?
It's like they believe that one of those party will hold their religious values. They don't need an Islamic party to hold their like. They voted for the opposition party right now, BNP. They voted for BNP because BNP has more connections to the Islamic parties. They form a league, like maybe 5 6 parties together, going to the national election under the same umbrella, and they will throw some bones to the Islamic parties, which are less, I would say, fundamentalist. But at the same time, this makes people feel like BNP has Islam. So they are not voting for their extremist parties, but they're voting for BNP. So they're not entirely secular, but they're feeling like, okay, we can vote for BNP and they will save us from, like, I don't know, selling the country to the infidels, as they say. So, so this is how it goes. Like, it's not a secular country. I would not say that because I think 60-70% people are really sensitive to their religious beliefs. And
More secular than Pakistan.
oh yeah, for sure. But we are not setting our bars to Pakistan. We don't want to beat Pakistan in like an, I don't know, development or secularism. Maybe we will set the bar at USA or even India. We want to be more like USA or European Union as regarding secularism. We don't want to like beat Pakistan. That's a really low bar to set right now. No offense to Pakistanis, but they have works to do, as we have to work on a lot of things. But it's not a secular country yet. They are backing up the religious parties. That's what I'm gonna say because they are not religious, but they are selling that to people. Like, we will save your religion if you vote for us.
In predominantly Muslim countries, it seems like there's always a power play between more secular and more religious elements of society. How is that playing out in Bangladesh in this election?
Yeah, so I would say we should not use the word secular, and we would. It would be better to pin down the phrase like liberals and conservatives. that'll be better. Like, so BNP is little more conservative, I would say, like Republican views. Maybe BNP, the opposition party right now, they have those more, and the ruling party is like Democrats. I would say, like just it's not a linear comparison. Just saying to give you an perspective. So they will be talking about, like, they talk about secularism a lot, but at the same time they know the people of Bangladesh are divided into, like, big sectors of the population would be like 60-70% of the people are extremely religious. So at the same time, in their, like, look at their books or their codes and ethics, you will not find anything about religious, like, advantages or something like that. But they're secular by the book, the ruling party. But at the same time, they're throwing bones to the Islamist people for two reasons. So it's like there are there was a big movement in, I think, 2015 or I don't know, 17, but that movement was from the Islamic people of Bangladesh, and they have a different education system, which is completely different from what we are from, but they have those madrasas, and they call it the Qaumi madrasa, like the madrasa of the people. So they have millions of people studied there or studying there right now, and they were in the capital, and their movement was about saving Islam. So that was a big movement, and this party kind of harshly mitigated those things, and nobody died. They used rubber bullets and everything, and they pushed them back from the capital, and they did not accept their terms, because their terms were, I would say, a lot like the Taliban guys. So I'm grateful that the government did not accept their terms under like tremendous pressure. You just think about this, like a million people coming to your capital, and they're all from the same background, the Kami Madrasa. So that was a big win for the liberal people in the country, maybe, but at the same time, the government understood that yes, today we won, but we cannot force down them like 60% of the people when you have 160 million people in your country. That's a large number. So they started throwing bones to those people. Their education system is completely different, right? So they don't learn math, physics, or some other things which we do in our conventional education system, which is coming from the British education system actually. Ever since we got our independence from the British Empire, so they had a completely different system. They read Arabic, Islamic history, a little of physics and math as well, but heavily relied on the Islamic parts. But the bones you are asking for, as an example, our prime minister set their degree equivalent to a master's degree of our education system. So they have different levels, right? One of their levels is, I think, Dakhil, and that was announced equivalent as a master's degree, and we are like, what the fuck? Like, it's not should be like this. But there was a bone thrown to those people, so they will cheer for him, for her, and in times we saw some other examples like this, like they're getting some advantages because the prime minister is thinking, if we're not giving them anything, there could be 20 million people next time in the capital. So I don't know if it's good or bad. It's just a strategy they took. But now both of the parties, if you're looking at them from the outside, you'll feel like they're both a little linear, like lenient to the Islamic people.
So you mentioned throwing bones or giving concessions to more conservative religious communities. What are the reasons for that?
Oh, okay. So one of this is this, like you cannot control them because those people are funded. I think there are speculations like they're funded by the petrodollars. You know about the Middle Eastern money flowing to those underdeveloped countries, and they want their ideologies to be alive at this part of the world. So they are having tons, of money, like US dollars maybe. So the government cannot cut off their fund. They don't even know how they're getting the funds, or even if they know, they don't have much control over it because it's not coming through government channels. It's coming from some other channels, and I don't know how they maintain this, but you cannot really just cut off the hydra's head or something. So you have to negotiate. So they are negotiating. Secondly, the problem is for the past 15 years they are in power. So any other ideologies, and there are separate ideologies before, but now everybody knows they will be in power. So even if you are an Islamic fanatic, you will choose to be a representative of this party, which is the ruling party. So you are going in as a secular, but in your mind, in your heart, you are not a secular. So when you are a big leader, maybe you are an MP, member of the parliament, and you still have that same heart, same core beliefs, and they will support the Islamic people or the terrorism because they can't help it. They chose this party because they are in the power, but they don't believe in their ideology, right? So two reasons could be like these could be the two reasons like why they are supporting these people. But still, they are both pseudo Islamic parties, right? Because on paper they are seculars and nationalists.
In this election cycle, have there been incidents of political violence?
There was, I think, one or two incidents, like in I think on November 28th, like 1 month back. So I was still in Dallas at the time, so I was not experiencing that, but I heard like from the newspapers, I saw like a few policemen died in the conflict and a few civilians. There was a big movement, like that was the only campaign day for the opposition party, I guess, because that was the day when the capital city saw them on the street or on the meeting places where they were speaking about something or gathering, like asking for a vote or something. But eventually that led to conflict, which happens every time in this part of the world. I don't know why they can't have a one single peaceful day of rallying or protesting or campaigning. I don't know. But that ended badly. And after that, I heard 10,000 people were arrested. Could be for good reasons because policemen had died. So I don't know. But that was the last time we saw violence, like this kind of violence. And then yesterday, somebody burnt down a train and some people died. But we did not have, like, so far, I did not read anything about any connection to the election. So I don't know. It could be a completely separate event, but I doubt that. But we don't have concrete proof that it happened because of the election or this thing happened because. So I don't know because after that happened, the government announced the train service will be closed for the next 48 hours, which like suspiciously covers the election time. So two and two to me it will be four, but I can't say anything like concrete because nobody's saying we did that. Nobody's taking responsibility, so we don't know.
So, do you think that some people with political power are making it harder for voters to cast their vote?
Sometimes they do. Like my voting place is in Rajshahi, the city I born. So, but I could not go there even if I wanted to today because all the train lines are cut off and the long road buses are not that regular during the election time. Because I would give you another news that I've just read. There was a highway which is connecting two important cities in Bangladesh, Dhaka, the capital, and Chittagong, that's the port city. And just today, 80 accidents happened because they had some metal traps for the vehicles going to and from Dhaka and Chittagong. So the government is saying the opposition party did that because they called for a strike and up until the election. So maybe they did that so people cannot go outside to vote, maybe. And the opposition party is calling for FBI to investigate this. They're like, we don't trust this government's investigations. We didn't do anything. They're doing this and putting that blame on us. So this is what's happening. I mean, I think that's just a term of like way to show like they don't trust their investigations. But the thing is, how would you go to your polling center if this kind of thing's happening and the buses are stopped? Because you can blame the private companies. They would try to protect their property, like the bus they have, and they stopped service. And only way to go to like intercity connections were the trains, which just faced a horrible accident of the fire, and then they shut it down for 48 hours. So you can just go there and vote now. Yeah, you gotta walk, and if you walk, the Google Maps is showing it's a 3-day walk. So you're gonna miss the timeline anyhow.
An issue that is important to you personally, and should be important to everyone, is women's rights. And what does this election mean for the women of Bangladesh? Is there one party that's better than the other?
So regarding any kind of gender inequality or women's rights, I think this party who are ruling the country right now and the opposition both will do more or less the same thing for the women. Like I would appreciate this thing. Like we have quota system for the women at most of the universities, even government jobs, even some private sectors, because we are not that old as a country. So the women's are always like a little behind, not because they cannot do anything, but because the society was pushing them back to the, like, I don't know, inside the house. Like that was the culture, like, I don't know, 50 years ago. And these places are really conservative because they're Muslim majority countries, and they have those like things, cultures, and the family values, even honor killings in Pakistan. I heard some stories, but at least after independence from Pakistan after 1971, these governments tried to like help them step forward, like the quotas. Like if you have 20 seats or 20 vacancies for any post, government job maybe, there could be like separate 3 or maybe 7 seats could be separated for women. I mean, even if you're a guy, you're doing really great, you aced all the exams, but maybe they're gonna pick a woman because we have to like help them step forward, and that is kind of okay. And it's not the best case, like it's not the best scenario for women yet, government wise, or I would say the system wise. Women participants are treated fairly, but society wise, they are not. It's not a problem. It's not a political problem. It's more of, I would say, regional problem and our cultural problems. Like in society, even if you have post like vacancies or like separating the job opportunities for women, but when you are going to the interview board or even after joining somewhere, you could be treated differently just because you're a woman. So that will remain the same as long as we cannot change it as a society, like a social change. Political changes will not help them much, I guess. We have to change the society first, and we are fighting for this. There are different kind of movements, not political movements, but some social movements, and we need more of those. And God forbid, if the Islamist people come to power, then it will be a political problem as well, like Iran or Afghanistan. Yeah.
So, is there any hope that things could get better?
I would say we are going through a tunnel, and we are going deeper and deeper, and it's good in some ways because there will be light at the end of the tunnel. And yes, 15 hours of this and 15 years of this and 5 more years and maybe 5 more. But at some point, the people will find their way to a true, free, and fair election and true democracy. And then you're going to see the end of the tunnel eventually. So yeah, we have to let things get worse to make it better, maybe.
So, what do young people feel about this election?
Yeah, I mean, I can see some small changes. Like this entire generation, they don't believe in voting system because a lot of people who are 24, 27-year old right now, and they could not vote for once in any election, not only the national, the regional elections, and they are frustrated. They got the voting right when they were 18. It's been, I don't know, for some people, it's been 7 years after they got their first voting right. They could not cast a single vote. So they are pissed off. And they will be continuing to be pissed off. And at some point, I think they're going to explode. They're going to ask for their rights and things will change. And they started this. Like, yeah, people were arrested, but did people completely shut up? I don't think so. I don't see any like completely silent social media or tea stall conversations or maybe some random general conversations with people on the streets. I don't see they're just shutting their mouth because they're afraid. They're talking loudly, and when you will find 50 people together talking loudly, it will change. If not, 500 people will change it. But I'm optimist right now. Like it will change.
Have young people that are pissed about the way things are going done anything in the political arena besides talk about it?
Oh, they tried to form another party, the young people, and they call it, I forgot the name in English, but they had this party founded by the people who barely passed their undergrads. It started from an university. So they were in their final year of their undergrad. I think they are the seniors, and they started protesting against some of the local kind of national movements, but not influenced by politics. And then they got big because whenever you're trying to protest against something, cops are going to beat you up. So they got beaten up, they got jailed for a few days, and then they became the national heroes. So they formed a party. They are still trying to like make their you have to have 300 representatives so you can go for the national election, right? 300 representatives throughout the country. So it's a big job. So they are still trying to form their party. They are trying to go to different areas, like all 300 voting areas, to set a party office, like the basics. Like if you set a party office, you find your representative, but they're trying to do so. But there are some other rumors, like maybe there's just another eyewash from the government, like yeah, we are making like the new opposition parties. But I don't care. At least some people are trying to do something. That means maybe some other people can also try to follow the same path. Maybe they can also try to follow the same path and make 300 party offices throughout the country and coming to the general election. Maybe if the people of Bangladesh can get the chance, they're going to vote for the new people, the young people. But it will take some time. I mean, for now, maybe they got a few hundreds. Sorry, maybe a few 100 and some more like places covered, but they have to go a lot more. Need time, but let's see what happens.
Do you think there is a particular issue that might make young people push for a substantial change in who runs the country? Is there a needle that might break the camel's back?
Yeah, there's the thing. Like I think the ruling party, um, with the vote or without the vote, they are being smart about this. Like I said about I don't feel like I don't have freedom of expression sometimes. Sometimes I feel like I don't have any freedom of expressions because sometimes I feel the pressures as well. Random people from their party um, sending me text messages like, yeah, we're gonna set a case against you, like you're doing something against the country. And if I talk about this, they'll be like, he's none of our guys, right? So, like you said, the breaking the camel's back is difficult when the government is thinking from that perspective. They will not put that much of a pressure, and they will not let the leash go. So it will always be like pushing some people, but not pushing the entire generation. That could break the camel's back. So as long as this ruling party can do that, I think they can extend their terms. That's a smart play. I think maybe North Korea should follow this. Just kidding, but as long as that's happening, it's really difficult to set 500 people together, like I don't know, protesting to death for a change. Yeah, I think they're waking up systematically. That's good because it could be an explosion. Like I don't know, 1 million people on the street, like kicking them off their seats, maybe just taking them down and putting a new government. But we don't want that. We want a systematical change. We want to make our a new party maybe, and setting up 300 representatives and going to the national election to win this. There's a systemic change, right? And if you're just walking down the streets with I don't know 1 million people and making the government stop doing whatever they're doing, that could be another change. But I think as long as the government is playing this like safe, not pushing them too much, that's not going to happen. So we need to find a systematic change.
What, in your opinion, should Bangladeshis do that really do want this systematic change?
I would say the most important thing right now is to talk about this more. The reason I'm saying is like a few people are talking maybe, and most of them are not even trying to talk about this out in the street, maybe on their social media or anywhere, because they think it's pointless. They think it's pointless because every time the same party is going to win, what's the point? But I would say we still have to talk about this, even if they feel like maybe this party is better for Bangladesh for now. And still, we have to talk about this because this cannot go on forever. We don't want, like, personally, I want a change. I want a change for the better. But if there's a chance that the change is going to be for the worse, I don't want that change. Then make it like keep this thing stable and we keep talking. So when the time is right, we will know what to do. But if you're like ignorant about everything that's going on because you think it's pointless, so you will not know when the time is right. So for the young Bangladeshis, I think we have to be more aware of the situation, the political situation, and we have to talk more about this.
Well, thank you so much for talking about it with me today and helping shed some light on a part of the world that a lot of people don't know much about and giving us a local perspective. And I encourage people to check out your work.
Oh, sure. And yeah, thank you. Thank you so much for inviting me today. And maybe here you can put the website. Yeah.